Hello, esteemed gentlemen, and welcome to the channel. The hardest people to get close to are often the ones worth knowing the most. Sigmas, the enigmatic outliers of society, walk a path entirely their own, leaving most people baffled and intrigued in equal measure. While extroverts thrive on connection and introverts retreat for peace, Sigmas operate in a category that feels untouchable, as if the rules of social interaction simply don't apply to them. Here's a fascinating fact. Studies show that individuals who value independence and introspection tend to maintain fewer close relationships, but the ones they do have are profoundly meaningful. Sigmas are the living embodiment of this truth. They aren't playing hard to get, they are hard to get, by design. Think of them as the final boss in a video game. You can try every trick in the book to get closer, but you'll likely find yourself running into a brick wall of indifference, mystery, and brutally high standards. Why? Because for Sigmas, letting someone in isn't just a choice, it's a calculated risk. Number 1. Hyperselective with energy. Sigmas treat their energy like a limited resource, one they protect with ruthless precision. For them, every social interaction comes with a cost, whether it's time, mental focus, or emotional bandwidth. They're hyper-aware of this, which is why they won't just give anyone access to their inner circle. Instead, they observe, assess, and decide who's worth the investment. To the outside world, this behavior might seem cold or detached, but for a Sigma, it's a survival skill. What sets them apart is their ability to instinctively gauge whether someone will drain or recharge them. It's not personal, it's strategic. They know how easy it is to get bogged down in the chaos of meaningless conversations or clingy relationships. For Sigmas, every moment spent with someone who doesn't align with their values feels like energy wasted. And wasting energy isn't just inconvenient, it's unacceptable. This hyperselectivity isn't about arrogance or superiority, it's about self-preservation. Sigmas understand themselves deeply. They know they thrive in solitude, where they can recharge, think, and create. Social interaction for them is never a default mode. It's a choice, one they make sparingly and with intention. The irony is that this approach often makes Sigmas more desirable to others. People are naturally drawn to those who seem unattainable, and Sigmas, by fiercely guarding their time and attention, unintentionally exude an air of exclusivity. But this allure rarely changes their boundaries. They'll let someone in only if they see potential for a relationship that's equally enriching on both sides. Otherwise, they're perfectly content staying on their own path, with their energy intact and their focus undisturbed. In a world obsessed with connection, Sigmas are unapologetic in their refusal to engage unless it's worth it, and that's what makes them so hard to get close to. Number 2. Their inner world is more stimulating. For Sigmas, the world inside their mind is infinitely more captivating than anything happening around them. Their thoughts are a rich, complex maze of ideas, plans, and self-reflection. It's where they feel most alive, and it's why they're often hard to engage with on a deeper level. While others may seek external validation or social stimulation, Sigmas are perfectly content exploring their inner world, which makes connecting with them feel like trying to interrupt someone lost in a good book. They may glance up, but they're unlikely to stay for long. This internal focus isn't just a preference, it's a way of life. They thrive on self-sufficiency, constantly solving problems, analyzing situations, and even entertaining themselves with their own ideas. To them, this mental independence is far more fulfilling than relying on someone else for emotional or intellectual stimulation. As a result, they often appear aloof or disinterested in external relationships, even when that's not their intention. The challenge for others is that breaking into this inner world requires more than just small talk or casual interest. A Sigma won't open up unless they sense you bring something genuinely unique to the table, something that rivals the complexity and depth of their own mind. This high bar can make others feel like they're being shut out, but for Sigmas, it's not about rejection. It's about protecting the sanctity of their mental space. To get close to a Sigma, you need to offer them something they can't already find within themselves. Otherwise, they'll stay where they're most comfortable, immersed in their thoughts, undisturbed and entirely self-sufficient. It's not arrogance or indifference. It's simply the way they're wired, and it's why most people never truly get past their walls. Number 3, they're masters of ambiguity. Sigmas thrive in ambiguity, and their enigmatic nature is no accident. It's a carefully crafted shield. They instinctively know that the less people know about them, the harder it is to form assumptions, manipulate them, or hold them to expectations they didn't agree to. For a Sigma, ambiguity isn't just a personality trait. It's a way to maintain control over their lives and relationships. Their charm lies in how they balance just enough openness to keep others intrigued without ever revealing the full picture. They'll share snippets of their thoughts or a few carefully chosen details about their life, but never enough to give anyone a clear understanding of who they truly are. This intentional vagueness keeps people guessing, creating an air of mystery that makes Sigmas both fascinating and frustrating. But there's more to their ambiguity than just creating allure. It's a defensive mechanism born out of necessity. Sigmas have learned that being too transparent invites unwanted scrutiny or emotional entanglements that don't align with their need for independence. By revealing little, they protect themselves from unnecessary drama and maintain the freedom to live on their own terms. What makes this trait so powerful is their ability to masterfully redirect attention away from themselves. They're excellent listeners and conversationalists, often steering discussions towards the other person while keeping their own cards close to their chest. This makes people feel seen and valued, even as they realize they know very little about the Sigma in return. To others, this ambiguity can feel like an invisible wall. It's not outright rejection, but it's clear that only those willing to invest time, patience, and genuine effort will ever be granted a glimpse past the carefully curated facade. And even then, a Sigma will only reveal what they want you to see. Number 4, skeptical of motives. For Sigmas, trust is a rare and precious thing, earned only through consistent and genuine actions. They view the world with a sharp and discerning eye, often questioning the motives behind even the simplest gestures. This skepticism isn't born out of cynicism, but out of experience. They've seen how easily words can differ from actions and how often people operate with hidden agendas, whether consciously or not. To a Sigma, nothing is taken at face value. They analyze interactions on multiple levels, from tone and body language to the subtle nuances in behavior. Compliments are dissected for sincerity, offers of help are scrutinized for strings attached, and even acts of kindness are viewed with a cautious curiosity. It's not that they're incapable of trusting. They simply won't do so until someone proves themselves over time, consistently aligning their actions with their words. This hyper-awareness can come across as paranoia to others, but for Sigmas, it's a natural way of protecting themselves. They value their independence and autonomy above all else, and the thought of being manipulated or caught off guard is intolerable. Their skepticism is a barrier that filters out superficial connections, leaving only those who are authentic and transparent. However, this intense scrutiny can make relationships with a Sigma feel like a test. Those who are used to being trusted easily might find it exhausting or even insulting to have their intentions questioned so thoroughly. But for the Sigma, it's not personal. It's survival. Trusting the wrong person is a mistake they'd rather avoid at all costs. Once someone earns their trust, however, it's unshakable. Sigmas may be skeptical by nature, but when they do let someone in, it's a bond built on unwavering respect and authenticity, because by then, you've proven you deserve it. Number 5, intensity can be intimidating. Sigmas carry a quiet intensity that sets them apart. It's not the loud, in-your-face kind of energy that demands attention, but a subtle force that draws people in or pushes them away. This intensity isn't something they try to cultivate. It's simply a byproduct of their depth, focus, and self-assuredness. But for many, it can be unsettling. Unlike those who adapt their personalities to fit social situations, Sigmas remain unapologetically themselves. They refuse to water down their thoughts, emotions, or values to make others comfortable. This can make casual, easygoing relationships feel almost impossible. Sigmas aren't the type to sit and chat about trivial matters just to fill the silence. They crave meaningful, thought-provoking conversations. To them, surface-level interactions feel like a waste of time, and their intensity reflects that. For some, this depth is magnetic. There's something undeniably captivating about a person who knows exactly who they are and isn't afraid to show it. Sigmas often have a commanding presence without even trying, and their authenticity can inspire admiration. But for others, that same intensity feels overwhelming. People who prefer lighthearted banter or who struggle with self-awareness might find it difficult to relate to or keep up with a Sigma. This doesn't mean Sigmas are trying to intimidate anyone. Their intensity isn't meant to dominate, it's simply who they are. However, it creates a natural barrier that filters out anyone who isn't willing or able to match their level of depth. To truly connect with a Sigma, you have to be willing to engage with them on their terms, authentically, deeply, and without pretense. And for most people, that's a level of intensity they're simply not prepared for. Number 6. Patience is a rare virtue for them. Sigmas are not known for their patience when it comes to relationships. They operate at a fast pace, intellectually, emotionally, and socially, and expect others to keep up. If someone lags behind or fails to match their level of depth and self-awareness, Sigmas rarely stick around to wait for them to catch up. To them, it's not about being cruel or dismissive. It's about conserving their time and energy for people who are already operating on their wavelength. This impatience stems from their no-nonsense approach to life. Sigmas are highly efficient, and that efficiency extends to their relationships. They don't see the point in holding on to connections that feel forced or stagnant. If they sense that someone isn't capable of meeting them where they are, whether that's intellectually engaging in meaningful conversations, emotionally matching their depth, or socially aligning with their values, they'll quietly step back. There's no drama, no grand exit, they just move on without looking back. What makes this trait especially challenging for others is that Sigmas are often very perceptive. They can quickly identify whether a connection has potential or if it's going to drain them in the long run. This snap judgment can feel harsh to people who believe relationships take time to grow, but Sigmas don't see it that way. In their minds, chemistry and compatibility should be immediately evident, not something that needs to be coaxed into existence. For those who don't measure up, the rejection can feel sudden and unexplainable, but for the Sigma, it's simply logical. They know what they need, and they won't settle for less. If you're not ready to meet them on their level, they'll move forward without hesitation, leaving you wondering what just happened. And for a Sigma, that's exactly how it should be. Should. Number 7. They rewrite the rules of relationships. Sigmas approach relationships like they approach life, with complete autonomy. They aren't bound by traditional rules, societal expectations, or the labels that often dictate how people should relate to one another. For a Sigma, relationships are deeply personal, and they insist on defining them on their own terms. This independence can make them seem unconventional or even rebellious, but to them, it's just a matter of staying true to who they are. Unlike most people, Sigmas don't view relationships as boxes to be checked. They're not interested in conforming to predefined roles like best friend, partner, or family member, if those roles feel limiting. For instance, they won't stay close to family just because of blood ties. If a familial bond doesn't bring mutual respect or value, they won't hesitate to keep their distance. Similarly, traditional romance often feels too scripted for a Sigma. They reject the rules of courtship in favor of forging connections that feel genuine and authentic, even if those connections don't fit societal norms. Friendships, too, follow this unorthodox pattern. Sigmas don't need constant contact or frequent validation to maintain a bond. To them, a real friend is someone who understands their need for space and supports their independence without taking it personally. This selective and untraditional approach often leaves them with fewer but far more meaningful relationships. While their rejection of conventional bonds might alienate some, it's not about a lack of care or love. Sigmas value depth and authenticity over conformity. They'd rather have a connection that's uniquely theirs, however strange or unconventional it may seem, than force themselves into a role that feels contrived. To them, relationships aren't about following the rules, they're about writing a story that's entirely their own. Number 8. They thrive in ambivert shadows. Sigmas are masters of navigating the gray area between introversion and extroversion, which makes them hard to pin down. One moment they might be fully engaged in a lively conversation, commanding attention with their sharp wit and insight. The next, they've vanished into their own world, unreachable and utterly uninterested in socializing. This constant shift between the two extremes keeps people guessing and often prevents others from getting too close. Unlike true introverts or extroverts, Sigmas don't lean heavily in one direction. They instinctively adapt to their environment, choosing when to engage and when to withdraw. In a group setting, they might step into the spotlight momentarily, not out of a need for attention, but to contribute meaningfully. However, once their purpose is fulfilled, they'll retreat to recharge, often without warning or explanation. This unpredictability isn't about playing games or pushing people away. It's about balance. Sigmas understand that both solitude and social interaction have their place, but they refuse to let either dominate their lives. While this adaptability is one of their greatest strengths, it's also a source of confusion for others. People crave consistency in relationships, and Sigmas simply don't provide it. For those trying to build a closer connection, this duality can be frustrating. Just when you think you've figured them out, they shift gears, leaving you questioning where you stand. Sigmas don't do this intentionally to keep others at a distance, but the effect is often the same. Their fluid nature makes it difficult for anyone to fully understand or predict them, ensuring that most relationships remain safely on the periphery. Ultimately, this oscillation between introversion and extroversion is just another layer of their complexity. It's not about keeping people out, it's about staying true to their ever-shifting rhythm. Number 9. Detachment isn't a defense mechanism. It's a strategy. Sigmas don't see detachment as a flaw or a sign of emotional unavailability. It's a deliberate strategy they've perfected over time. For them, emotional energy is finite, and investing it everywhere is both impractical and draining. Instead of diving headfirst into every connection, they weigh the cost-benefit of engaging emotionally. This isn't about being cold or unfeeling. It's about making thoughtful decisions about where their energy will have the greatest impact. Detachment allows Sigmas to navigate life with a level of clarity and focus that most people find difficult to achieve. They're not bogged down by unnecessary drama, petty conflicts, or the emotional turbulence that comes with shallow relationships. By staying neutral in situations that don't directly align with their goals or values, they protect their mental and emotional resources for what truly matters. This strategic approach can make Sigmas seem aloof or indifferent, but it's far from that. When they choose to emotionally engage, they do so fully and with intention. Their connections may be few, but they are meaningful and deeply rooted in mutual respect and understanding. For Sigmas, it's not about shutting people out. It's about ensuring that the relationships they do have are worth the emotional investment. Their detachment also gives them a unique edge in difficult situations. While others might get swept up in emotions or impulses, Sigmas remain calm and composed, able to make decisions based on logic rather than reaction. This isn't a lack of empathy. It's an ability to compartmentalize emotions until it's time to address them. Ultimately, Sigmas don't detach out of fear or insecurity. They do it because it works. It's a strategy that lets them maintain their independence, focus on their priorities, and form relationships that truly enrich their lives. Number 10. Their emotional radar is too sharp. Sigmas have an uncanny ability to detect emotional dishonesty from miles away. Their emotional radar is so finely tuned that even the slightest hint of insincerity doesn't just register, it practically screams at them. While most people might miss the subtle cues of fake enthusiasm, performative kindness, or hidden agendas, Sigmas can sense them instantly. It's not that they're hypercritical or suspicious, it's simply that they've developed an instinctive understanding of human emotions. This heightened emotional awareness is a survival mechanism they've honed over time. Having been let down or disappointed by shallow interactions in the past, they now trust their gut more than ever when it comes to people's true intentions. Whether it's a smile that doesn't reach the eyes or words that feel rehearsed, Sigmas can immediately tell when someone's emotional expressions are more about gaining approval than genuine connection. What's most intriguing about this ability is how it affects their behavior. When they detect insincerity, Sigmas don't react with confrontation or drama. They don't make a big scene or call someone out. Instead, they simply withdraw. It's a silent, almost invisible retreat. They distance themselves emotionally and physically, protecting their space without needing to explain why. To them, there's no need to engage with fake emotions or superficiality. They see it for what it is, something that doesn't deserve their time or attention. This sharp emotional radar also makes them incredibly discerning in relationships. They won't waste time with people who don't bring authenticity to the table. They're looking for real connections, where both parties show up as they are. No facades, no pretenses. And once a Sigma senses the faintest trace of inauthenticity, they'll quietly pull back, leaving behind a relationship that was never going to be worth the investment in the first place. In a world that often values conformity and surface-level connections, Sigmas stand apart as enigmas, complex, introspective, and fiercely independent. Their reluctance to follow conventional rules of relationships, their sharp emotional insight, and their strategic detachment can make them seem difficult to understand or even unreachable. But beneath their layers lies a deep, unwavering authenticity that demands respect. For Sigmas, life is about living on their own terms, and they'll only let others in if they bring something meaningful to the table. It's not about rejecting the world. It's about carefully choosing which pieces are worth investing in. Their journey is one of relentless self-discovery and self-preservation, where every connection is measured and every relationship is defined by depth rather than convenience. If you're lucky enough to break through their walls and truly connect with a Sigma, you'll discover that the bond is rare, lasting, and built on mutual respect. But for most, the distance remains, not out of disdain, but out of an understanding that their time, energy, and trust are precious. Sigmas don't follow the script others have written for them. They're too busy writing their own. And if you want a place in their world, you'll need to earn it, not by trying to change them, but by understanding and appreciating the profound independence that makes them who they are. If you found yourself captivated by the world of Sigmas and you want to dive deeper into the complexities of their mindset, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. By subscribing, you'll be joining a community that values authentic, thought-provoking content designed to challenge the norm and explore the extraordinary. Stay tuned for more insights, stories, and revelations that will keep you intrigued and inspired. Trust us, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Go ahead, subscribe now, and let's keep this journey going.